Hey, well, welcome to the Jewish Road podcast. We are here with our good friend Olivier Melnick from the great state of Texas. Hello, Olivier.
Hey, it's good to be on your show. Hi, Ron. Hi, Matt.
Hi. We love you. You are a French Messianic Jew living in Texas, of all things.
Shalom, you all. I know.
Shalom, y'all. Olivier, we've known each other for quite a while, and one of the things that you have really spoken to the believing community around the country and around the world is this idea of anti-Semitism.
Yes.
So for those who are listening for the very first time and don't even know what is anti-Semitism, let's start there to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Matt, because I learned that the hard way when I was doing a presentation years ago on anti-Semitism, and in the Q&A at the end of the presentation, somebody raised their hand and they said, "Can you tell me what that means?" So I'm big on definitions. My definition is not the only one. That's the one I've been working with for a few years now, and actually I've changed a couple of words, and I'll make a mention of that after I give you the definition. My definition is anti-Semitism is the demonic and irrational hatred of the Jewish people and Israel, characterized by thoughts, words, and or deeds. The demonic and irrational hatred of the Jewish people and Israel, characterized by thoughts, words, or deeds. And the reason why I said the two words is that until about maybe 5 years ago, I did not have the words irrational and the word demonic or satanic in my definition. And I probably have maybe close to 500 books on the topic on my shelf between the Holocaust and anti-Semitism in general. And they're wonderful books, a lot of great scholars. I've learned a lot from those men and women, great scholars, but all of them are missing the spiritual aspect of anti-Semitism. And they're not understanding that Satan is behind it because he wants to get the Jews, because God loves the apple of his eye, Zechariah 2:8. So because of that, they're doing a great history of anti-Semitism. They're trying to understand it philosophically, socially, but they miss the spiritual aspect. And it's important to understand it comes from Satan. And because of that, only Satan can make something irrational look very rational. And that's where we are with anti-Semitism. People are buying it, and they're buying things that make no sense at all, but they're buying it because Satan is actually behind it, making it sound like it's the truth, but when it's a lie.
Yeah, and that's the dynamic that's behind it. It's not this worldly human kind of a irrational hatred, but it's like we always say when God said to Abraham, "I choose you," Satan said, "Okay, I choose you too." And so you have this constant over the ages and all the way until we get to eternity, from the fall to that, you have this irrational hatred that's demonic, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now what we have this hatred that is demonic that goes as far back as when Satan discovered early on that God loves the Jewish people and has a specific plan for them. For the whole history of mankind really hinges around God dealing with Israel through the ages in different ways, and it's not over. It's actually going to kind of come to its apex in the near future. But all in all, God has made promises and covenants with the Jewish people that are unconditional and eternal. 4 out of the 5 he made are unconditional and eternal, and that Satan knows the Bible pretty well, and he knows that at some point the Jewish people are going to recognize Yeshua as the Messiah, and when that happens, that's when his career is over, and he really is not looking forward to his retirement. So he wants to postpone it or cancel it. That's what he's trying to do. So he is behind anti-Semitism to try to stop the Jews from believing in Yeshua, and to also push the church against the Jewish people. From those two angles, he's basically ostracizing the Jewish people and separating them, and hopefully turning the world against the Jewish people. And look where we are today. Like, I mean, we're doing this show in the midst of the ugliest war in the land of Israel in the last 50 years, when the most death in the first day of that war since the Holocaust.
That's right. So I think a lot of people, when they think about anti-Semitism, the focal point, the fulcrum, the center of all of that, it oftentimes probably lands itself in World War II, and they're thinking Adolf Hitler, and they're thinking the Nazis. And you could very quickly get to a point where you could go backwards, and you can talk biblically about all of the people that have tried to wipe out the Jewish people historically. But the other thing that you've been talking about is what we call the new anti-Semitism. And how is that manifesting? We obviously see that what's going on right now. This is anti-Semitism, the war that's happening in Israel. But it's also showing up in other parts of the world. It's showing up even here in the States.
Yes. Well, see, so to get to the new anti-Semitism, you can't just start there. And we don't have time here to do a history of the Jewish people through the lens of anti-Semitism. But suffice it to say, anti-Semitism did not happen in a vacuum. It's something that gradually morphed into what it is today. And so we have biblical anti-Semitism that was real, the Pharaoh and then Haman and then the Amalekites. And I mean, we have stories in the Bible, but it goes way, way beyond the Bible. And so then you go through history, and I could not do justice to the history in a few minutes, but the entire history of the Jewish people has been punctuated. Of course, that would have to happen. Somebody calls me when I'm online. Sorry about that. The entire history of the Jewish people has been punctuated by acts of anti-Semitism, from the church fathers to the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Black Plague's accusation, the blood libels, and all those things, and all throughout history, and then the Holocaust. And you can speak of Jewish history pre-Holocaust and post-Holocaust. Something changed at that time, and then after the Holocaust, for 2 decades almost, people globally thought that, you know what, anti-Semitism is gone. It's taboo. Never again. We killed it. It was just swept under the carpet.
So after the Holocaust, there was a respite for a sense. Really, the Holocaust, the anti-Semitism went underground. It was not finished. You said it was reloading.
Yeah, I think that it's the image is like Satan, who's behind it all along. It was reloading, getting reorganized, and really getting very creative at starting to what's the word I use? Subcontracting his hatred to a different group of people. So he at that time is also when 2 events took place in the mid-'60s, where Adolf Eichmann was taken captive by the Mossad in Argentina, and then put on trial. And then 1965, Pope Paul VI declared that the church should no longer accuse the Jews of deicide, of killing Christ. So it was like, ex cathedra, it was like a big deal when he said we cannot accuse the Jews. And that's when people said, see, anti-Semitism is gone now. Things are changing, but really not. Because coming on the scene of around the time of Yasser Arafat, this new development where anti-Semitism became, anti-Zionism or anti-Israelism, and there's a shift where the victims became the perpetrators, and the perpetrators became the victims. So all of a sudden, the Jewish people, the Israelis, are the new Nazis of the Middle East. You should see the cartoons that have been coming out to this day. They keep coming, of painting pictures of Jewish people in Israel as the perpetrators, the colonizers, the occupiers, and on and on and on. And then the poor Palestinians are the victims. So. And to be honest, at the beginning, in the mid-'60s, they got some pushback because that really didn't make a whole lot of sense. Palestinians were just like Syrians and Lebanese and Arabs and Jordanians. People, what are you talking about, Palestinians? But eventually, when you tell a lie long enough and often enough, it becomes the truth. So now nobody in 2023, nobody questions that anymore. And now, and you fast forward to today, in the midst of the Gaza-Israeli conflict, as we speak right now, and you see people on the streets of Sydney, Australia, marching and saying, gas the Jews.
Gas the Jews.
Gas the Jews. And you see people doing that in Paris, in London. My whole family is still in Paris. I mean, in Paris, in France, mostly Paris. They're marching in streets of New York. There was a protest at Times Square either yesterday or the day before, pro-Palestinian, which means pro-Hamas, which means pro-terrorism, which means pogroms, because that's what happened on Saturday, was a pogrom, a modern-day pogrom. And for those of you who don't know what the word pogrom means, pogrom is an organized riot against the Jewish people, like those who took place in the movie Fiddler on the Roof. This is why my great-grandmother came out of the pogroms to move to France. So
that's when my all four of my grandparents came to the United States through Ellis Island because of that same thing in Eastern Europe.
Exactly. So what took place was a pogrom, and so you see people on the street marching and defending the cause of the Palestinians. But there was even I have the picture. I downloaded the picture. There was even it looked like a young kid with a phone, holding a phone with a swastika, showing what's the message here? What's the swastika? What does it have to do anything with what's happening right now? Are we saying that the Jews are the new Nazis, or are we saying let's bring this ideology again because we want to finish the job that Hitler could not finish? Whichever way you look at it, it's negative. And so this is where we are. And the main reason why, well, the two reasons why we are where we are is, number one, lack of education. People don't care. I read a lot about that in my latest book, The Normalization of Anti-Semitism. By the way, shameless plugs. All my books are on Amazon. There you go.
And we'll put all those in the link for you afterwards too. Yeah, we will shamelessly plug for you.
Absolutely. I don't expect any less of you. Thank you. And so there's a lack of interest, a fatigue. People don't care about hearing this anymore. And plus, it's like I'm not in Israel. I'm not Jewish. I don't live in a Jewish neighborhood, Jewish state, Jewish city. So it's like it's not my thing. So people don't care. But we are at a crossroads right now. Things have, and actually this last weekend, what took place in Israel is it's another turn. I just published today an article and a video, and in it, the claim that I make, and I don't think I'm wrong, is that global anti-Semitism is all out now. It's just basically all out. It's not hiding, so it's only going to get progressively worse, but fast.
There's a compassion right now for the Israelis that's about to turn, but you see it in mainstream media. You see it. I hear it amongst my friends. People are looking and saying, like, it's so horrible what's going on there. But now, as there is a mounting war coming against Gaza, that narrative is going to start to shift once again. How do we, even here in the States, pay attention, especially those in the church, those who are following Yeshua? How do they keep their minds on this in such a way that they don't get sucked in?
You mean not get sucked into the Palestinian false narrative?
Yes.
I don't know what else to tell you, but educate yourself. A thing that I like to tell people, which of course right now is not really a selling point, I tell people, visit Israel. Not really a selling point right now. But go to Israel, visit Israel, see how Jews and Arabs actually live together in Israel proper, and see that that everything you're hearing is not true. Educate yourself on the origin of the Palestinians and the word Palestine. And then, I mean, that's another podcast in and of itself that we could do. Don't buy. The problem is that people don't. So the two things I was trying to say is that, number one, lack of education, and number two, and all of us are guilty of it, even all three of us, is the fallen nature. We all have sin in us, and it's a lot easier to hate than to love. Love takes work. Hate is just, we're born with it. And so we the fallen nature, we make mistakes. We can hate. We can pick people that we like and pick people that we don't like. We pick, I don't care about the facts. This is what I want to believe. So education is big. This is what I've been doing for 23 years. I've written 4 books on the topic and many, many articles and conferences. And every day I wake up and I go like, people are going to be tired of hearing me like this broken record. But I talk to people all the time and they go like, I did not know I needed to know that. So, you guys are doing your part in educating the church on the Jewish roots and the importance of supporting Israel. And when I say supporting Israel, I don't mean blindly supporting Israel because, we love Israel because, we love the Jewish people. Of course, we need to support Israel and show them that that they're our friends. It doesn't mean that we agree with everything that takes place within the Israeli government. We have to be careful with that. But with something that's happening, what's happening right now, and people are supporting the Palestinian narrative, I would corner them and I would say, can you explain to me what you're supporting? Well, and they will say, well, I'm supporting the Palestinian victims. I said, okay. Yesterday I saw this post. I'm pretty sure it was from Dr. Michael Brown, and somebody was accusing people in Israel and said, like, please don't go overboard in going after Hamas. So Michael Brown said, so we should go equally, we should respond in kind. And so does that mean that we could go and kill 2-year-olds and wives and daughters and behead people? Because that's responding in kind. That's how ludicrous it is. When people tell Israel, don't respond overboard, what they really mean is don't do a thing. Yeah. Because they're used of Israel basically not doing anything and being and restraining herself and telling the Palestinian civilian, we're going to bomb this building in Gaza because we have to destroy it because there's people they're hiding weapons and we all know that. So please, by 2 p.m. tomorrow, be gone. Who else does that during regular warfare? No other country in the history of the world has ever done this, calling the enemy, saying, civilians, we're not after you, get out. I'm not sure they're doing it anymore. So this is where we are. This whole story of anti-Semitism, it's just picking up momentum. We see a lot of support. I'm going tomorrow night in my town in Rockwell, Texas. I'm going to a park when there's going to be a rally in support of Israel. So I'm going to be there. I want to show my support. And some people at my church will be there as well. So it's all over the world. We see support like this, and that's what Christians can do if they already know that they love Israel and they want to do something. They can show their support by participating in rallies to show Israel support. But the hardest part is for the Christians that who said that poor Palestinians, it's Israel's fault. They're just I don't know. Maybe you'll edit me after I said this, but they're just ignorant. They're ignorant and arrogant, and they just don't care about factual truth. They just care about what's politically correct, basically.
What about just beyond ignorant? What I see a lot in the church is indifference, which is a different. They know about it, so they're not ignorant. They know about it, and they're like, well, whatever. That they're always fighting over there, or that's the Jewish people, or replacement theology. All of this stuff. But how do you speak to churches who are indifferent to this? Why does this matter? Why should this matter?
It's interesting you would say that, Matt, because the first point of the 10 points that I identify in my latest book on the normalization of anti-Semitism, the first point I make is apathy. Mm-hmm. There's a complete apathy and I look at mostly the church. The church's response. They're indifferent. They're apathetic. They don't care. And what I start with is this probably overused quote by Martin Niemöller. First they came for the socialists, and I was not a socialist, so I did not speak up. Then they came for the communists, and I was not a communist, so I did not speak up. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I was not a trade unionist, so I did not speak up. Then they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew, so I didn't speak up. Then they came for me. There was nobody left to speak up for me. What people need to understand is that if they don't speak up when they see injustice, and it's not just with Israel. It's let's not be we're focusing on the church in Israel and the relations and how it's all playing out with anti-Semitism, but it's life in general. If you don't speak up against injustice, it's gonna kick you in the butt, because eventually it's going to come around and you're the only one left. You have to speak up, and it's not popular to speak up. It's not popular to say this cannot happen. But we have. If we don't speak up, then going back to going forward, actually to Matthew 25:31 through 46, I look at the parable of the sheep and the goats, where during the tribulation, Gentiles are going to get saved, and because they will be left behind, and they're going to get saved, and some of them will, and those will understand the place of Israel in God's program and in God's heart, and they're going to want to do anything they can to help Jewish people, and it's going to be a beautiful thing from that group that's going to do that. And so beautiful that actually Yeshua speaks of it in Matthew 25, when he said, to the extent of, when you give water to water, or you clothed, or you fed, or you protected any of those brethren of mine, and he meant the Jewish people, you did it to me. And these people enter the Messianic kingdom automatically. So it's a beautiful picture of what can be done today. It really doesn't matter where you sit on your end times eschatology, pre, post, mid, 3/4, 7, 8. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that there's a model that can be followed. The model is the Jewish people need help, and they actually need help today. So what I'm trying to promote right now, and I've been doing this for a while, is to prepare Christians to be ready at the drop of a hat to help their Jewish friends wherever they are. 80 years ago in France, my grandfather was hiding in the bottom downstairs cellar of the house where I grew up. And the Gestapo came to get him. They took him, and he died in Auschwitz within a week. And they were like 18 different apartment complexes in that 3-building, like you make a U shape, and everybody were looking behind the shutters, bystanders. They were not doing anything for whatever was their reason. None of them were good, but they were just like, I'm not getting involved. We cannot allow the past to repeat itself. And a bystander only facilitates the work of a perpetrator. So we cannot afford to be bystanders of the 21st century. Christians today have to be ready, but not ready to just, I tell people, if your Jewish friend comes in the middle of the night and say, hey, they seized my car, they froze my account, they're at my house, I can't go, I don't know where to go. But you keep telling me all the time that you're a Christian and you love the Jewish people, you love Israel, and can you help me? Then at 3:00 in the morning, in the middle of the night, will not be a time to say, you know what, I'll pray for the peace of Jerusalem. That ship sailed. Okay, we're way beyond that. The time will be to say, you know what, come in. Are you hungry? Are you cold? Are you tired? Let me take care of you. That's where I want Christians to be today.
Yeah, and Olivier, don't you think that this is a narrative to combat the other narrative that needs to actually be taken up and spoken, beginning with the pulpit?
Yes, and unfortunately, I've been speaking in churches for 27 years now, and the ones who invite us, they're usually friendly to us. But even when I do this, there's always a little bit of animosity in the audience, especially in the Q&A, and that's for the churches who like us being Jewish ministry. But the vast majority of churches, they don't care. They don't care, or they have replaced Israel. God is done with the Jews. Or when you talk about Israel, they say, well, what about the Palestinians? Well, I mean, Jews and Palestinians all need Jesus. There's no question about it. We're not saying that a group is better than the other. In God's eyes, we're all sinners, all of us, needing a need of a redeemer, the one who's spoken of in all the messianic prophecies of the Tanakh, and that's Yeshua of Nazareth, Jesus. But I forgot what I was going to say. See what you did? See what you did? You didn't say anything, and I forgot what I was going to say. It's old age.
There's so many things going on in there.
Olivier, I'm so passionate. You get me going, and I can't stop.
I know. Well, and I feel like the injustice of the podcast, even though it's long format, and we heard that you did this on TV in 10 minutes, so we gave you like 3 times that amount. But
is this a complaint? Is this a complaint?
No, this is a little Jewish guilt here. But we know that this is only touching the surface of the deep work that you've done, all of the books. So here is your opportunity, that shameless plug for people who are listening in and they want to understand more of this. They see what's going on. They feel scared. They feel uninformed and like, where do I start? Where do they find all of your stuff?
Well, my big connection is with Chosen People Ministries. I've been with the same mission for 27 years. Within the mission, so chosenpeople.com, within the mission, I specialize in teaching about anti-Semitism. So my books are on Amazon. You type my name, you'll find the books. There's 6 of them, 4 of them on anti-Semitism. And then I have a YouTube channel. I think I'm a little over 700 videos now. That a lot of them are like my daily devotionals, but I post weekly, usually a longer video on a topic that's relevant to Israel, end times, anti-Semitism, and I have all the feasts. That's some of the similar things that you guys are doing, I'm sure, but there's still not enough of us doing it. So on my YouTube channel, Today Through Jewish Eyes, you're going to get a lot of information, and I'm always an email away if people have questions.
All right. Well, thank you, Olivier. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you. We love you. We miss you. Next time we're in Texas, we'll be saying hi. And we'll
have to do barbecue together.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Well, my friend, until next time, we all pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Shalom, Yerushalayim.